Welcome to the inaugural Industry Grinder podcast. My name is Jonathan Polit, and I have been playing in this industry at various bars, restaurants, taverns, and supper clubs and private parties for about 10 years.
I am Andrea Barrett, and I have been bartending on and off for probably the last 14 years. Large venues, small venues, hole in the walls, and private gigs.
Hi, I'm Kelly Herden, and I have been in the business probably 24 years now. The list of places that I haven't worked is a smaller list, and probably over 4 different states. It's my absolute favorite thing to do. I love it very much, and I hope to continue for a long time.
My name's Colson. I'm a professional musician. It's my day job. Actually, I work at a church, but I do a ton of gigs. And I've been a professional musician for about 32 years. I play piano, guitar, drums. Actually, I'm a drummer. And sing. And it's my pleasure to be a part of the group. And I've lived here in Illinois for almost 5 years.
Today's Industry Grinder broadcast brought to you by Gentleman Jack.
All right. So, how are we starting this?
Well,
Do you want to
how do we start? Okay, so we start with, so Industry Grinder is something, I feel like me and Kelly have had these conversations over the years that we've known each other. We've seen each other at different places I'm performing, different places she's working. And I got it into my blonde head that, wow, this is like a relationship that should be nurtured, because she's going to know people that I don't know. I'm going to know people she doesn't know. She may want to bartend where I'm playing. I definitely want to play where she's bartending. And so she was probably the beginning, the genesis of the whole Industry Grinder concept. And then you just I think you grabbed my name off of a roster sheet at Casey's Cabin. Was it Casey's Cabin?
Maybe. I think I saw it on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, this guy plays a bunch of gigs, and then I saw that you opened for the Gym Blossoms. Okay. So I just moved to Illinois from
you
Arizona.
Can't have more than a 5-minute conversation with me without learning that I opened for the Gym Blossoms.
I've hit it 4 times already today. So.
Well, actually, no, it was all them. Today I was on good behavior, but normally.
Yeah. So being that I went to school in Tempe, Arizona, because I went to ASU, that's where the Gym Blossoms are from. More context. Yeah. And I was like, hey, I'm going to reach out to this guy. I'm just going to see, hey, what's a good place to play? Who's looking for anybody? Yeah. And then your initial thought was,
who the frig is this guy? You know what I mean? You know how hard I work for my connections, and but I don't know. I just went with it. I'm like, I answered the questions. I think pretty directly. Gave you some names and stuff. And truth is you've done more for my career than I've ever done for yours. 3-1, 4-1. I'm comfortable saying. I wouldn't have the volume that I have, the amount of gigs that I have, if it weren't for you. If I'm being totally 100% honest about that.
I appreciate that, but we've helped each other out. We've got each other into different places.
And now we just have a good thing where we're sharing the intel on everything. And so Industry Grinder starts, and then Andrea joins the page. And
that's me.
I don't know. My whole thing with Andrea is I didn't ask you guys when I was like, hey, I just added an admin. But my whole thing was imagine if me and Kelly were working at a bar one night and we're like, the floor needs to be swept, and okay, where's the broom? I asked Kelly where the broom is, and Andrew goes, the broom's in the corner, but I already swept. Oh. That's kind of how I take Andrea, because she's doing all this posting. She's doing all this work already on the page that really was outdoing what me and you were doing.
Yeah. And now ever since he said that, I'm like, I'm not posting enough. This is not okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly's done 6 times today. I gotta amp up my game.
Well, in my head, I just saw someone that saw what we saw in the group. But
you didn't ask us, and you didn't ask Andrew either.
I also just opened my Facebook one day and was like, admin to what? I'm where? I think I accidentally just became admin on a Facebook. I don't I'm not really sure how that happened. Okay. And then he messages me later, and it's just like, I hope you're okay with this. I'm like, well, I kind of have to be at this point, don't I? Because now I look like a schmuck if I say no.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because
But
you were
thank
already
you.
posting a whole bunch of things anyways.
Well, you seemed like you were like just involved, like it mattered to you. So, so
I do enjoy it.
You were a pleasant surprise.
Oh, thank you.
And I think it's important to recognize hard work when we see it.
There you go.
So
In a nutshell, it's Northern Illinois, for those who don't know. Northern Illinois.
Southern Wisconsin.
Southern Wisconsin. Kelly works in Wisconsin, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I also
And
work
he
in
works in
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
And you
Yep.
work in Wisconsin, too.
Yep,
that's right.
and this is how you know Kelly's known me or has known me for quite a while and knows someone else that has known me for a long time. She's going to refer to me as Annie, which is totally fine.
That's gonna screw me up.
Now, yeah, but if like my husband called me Annie, I'd be like, oh, stop that word.
Yeah.
That's
It's okay
weird.
for Kelly.
Yes, it's okay for Kelly because she knew someone that knew me previous to high school. So
Yes, actually, Annie used to date Wally back in the third
held
grade,
I
I
learned
believe.
this on the
we
ride
held
over. I'm
hands
like,
in chorus
wow. Yeah.
with Mrs. Davis.
What a
Yeah.
tangled web we weave.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
And then we met because I was singing behind a bar, and Kelly came in and started rapping, and I was like, "Who's that girl? I like her." And then our friendship kind of developed from there. So
Yeah.
And let me get this straight, John. When you started this group, Industry Grinder, you had no idea.
That there was a social media group called Grinder, and what it was about, I did not. I was thinking about Grinder the sandwich, but then I also did kind of have in my head like Grinder. There is a social media group called Grinder. Sorry guys.
yeah,
Sorry guys.
that was
You
the
know,
first question my
but
husband asked
they
me.
also-
Like, what's with
There's
this
a
name?
missing E, I think.
My wife asked me the same
Yes.
thing. Like, what is
Yes.
this?
Yeah.
So
What did you become accidentally admin
yeah,
of?
yeah.
whoops.
Yeah.
Closed social net group.
But so it's also that this particular region of bars, resorts, supper clubs, it's all tied into these lakes and patios, and bring your dog, bring your boat. Let's hire a musician, a baton twirler, balloon blower upper,
Yeah.
Like there's all
Steel
different
drums.
diverse types of entertainment going on. And it seems to be unique to this part of the country. Like we're slept on.
Well, and I'll totally and Kelly used to live in Arizona. We just found that out recently, right?
Yes.
But like in Arizona, like I've been a professional musician for a long time, like 30 plus years. I'm really old. And I think I'm the elder in the group.
I'm the baby.
Yeah, you're the baby. I think I am the elder. But
Finally, median.
yeah, we're not going to say my age. And I never ask a woman her age. So, but like in Arizona, it was corporate gigs or like, maybe some bar gigs that were really, really seedy, but like nothing. Like I played at a Squid Ink one time, and then it was like, yeah, thanks, we're not having you back because it's too expensive, or whatever. But like here, it's like everywhere. There's live music everywhere.
Well, I think that's the only way bars are successful now, is that they're each competing with each other. And if you don't have an outside patio, then people aren't coming in the summer. And if you don't have bags or you have volleyball or the lake to draw something in, then you're just a hole in the wall bar, and those only last for so long unless they're, have been around for a long time. So
They probably need something special to keep the right amount of clientele coming in the door.
and the right type of clientele for what they're trying to
Right.
do, right? If
So
you,
hire us.
we'll get you the people you need.
Yeah, Craig's available Friday. I'm available Saturday.
Yeah. If this is edited and released by then.
Yeah, right. Pressure's on.
Maybe that weekend you will also be.
Maybe that weekend. I might be available Friday. Yeah. So. And then we were going to share like good stories or
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like,
there is. So there is a great story about how my and Kelly's professional relationship developed, and I'm going to try to not mention this bar's name, but this show just turned out all kinds of awful. I mean, the performance went fine, the night went fine. I think everyone was good that way, but there was a problem with the with the money that we were supposed to be paid. Our rate. There's a miscommunication, honestly, looking back on it. Well, I played with a partner, and he took exception to the variance. I sort of paid my bar bill, took the money, and I smiled, and I'm like, okay, it's great to see everybody. Goodbye. And but it turned into something really bad, and there was a confrontation actually between the owner and my partner. It actually almost got physical. I think it almost kind of did get a little physical. But anyway, as soon as I learned about it, I said to Kelly, like, like you work in this industry, you have a family you're supporting. Say what you have to say. Like we're still gonna be friends. I'm like, please, Kelly, I still need you. You know what I mean? Like don't hate me. But I think we both kind of had the same attitude of like, there's no reason to trash a relationship that could kind of go on, and I think that's really where our friendship developed, because we just knew each other, like kind of cool with each other, but I don't think we were really like professionally friendly until after we went through the grind.
incident.
Yeah.
The incident.
And for the record, we've mended fences. Me and this other organization, we've mended fences. Everything is okay. I don't think the incident is remembered, honestly. But
And the gentleman that you were playing with, you are no longer playing with, correct?
No.
Yeah, right.
No, that ship has sailed.
Right.
Which sometimes happens.
Yeah.
It does. No, he
Situations like
actually
that
moved.
to
He had
figure
moved
out where
across
you need to
country,
be.
so.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting that you'd mentioned Kelly was the start of it. I think she's what kind of brought us together, you and I. The reason I have the job that I have is because of Kelly. I was working in Wonder Lake in another bar, and some terrible things had happened there, that the business had started to decline, and they needed a fill-in for a bar that she had filled in at or had previously worked at, and she, I'd gotten a hold of her, she'd gotten a hold of me, I stepped in, and I've been there for 2 years now. So I think it's interesting that like all of us Kelly's kind of the epicenter of this group.
Absolutely.
And they absolutely love you, by the way.
Oh,
That was
I
like,
appreciate that. Yeah, no, it I didn't know they were in the building, and it was a high volume day, and by the end of the shift, I was asked what on my list of demands, and then I was like, well, I got to talk to this other place I'm still currently working at, and it worked out because I'm still very social and active within that other bar as well. But I no longer work there. But the interesting, I think, fact about me is that I only bartend 1 day a week. That this is not my main profession, but it is one that I absolutely love and have gone on and off with, but have heavily been involved in the last 10 years. And that's part of the reason I liked the idea of Industry Grinder, was because without those connections like Kelly or Craig or John, it is really hard to get your foot in the door as a musician, as a bartender. Once you build your reputation, then it starts to precede you. But I mean, there's thousands of us out there, right? And we see it every day on our page, people looking for jobs. So
Isn't it possible that by just being in the industry 1 day a week, you've left yourself open for all these supporting events?
Yeah, and I do outside events and things like that. But it is. I always come back to it. It's a familiar and comfortable feeling for me. I'm a very social person. I'm can be very loud depending on the situation. And so it's a place where I get to express all the things that maybe I don't get to do in my other job. So.
And what is your attitude about? We did not pregame this.
Oh boy, off the cuff. Here we go.
But what about your spouse? Your spouse or a spouse in general being with you as a bartender, with you during the day. Like my wife's attitude was this: like, dude, go home and let your woman make the money. Don't sit there on her shift at the bar the whole time unless
100%.
you're like the funny. I don't know. You have the personality that's like the energy is totally matching. But even then, still, have your drink, have your meal, and go home.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm a little on the fence with that. So I think previous to my current husband, I would have been absolutely like, I don't want you in here. You're messing with my money. Go away. The job I have now, he does not come to, but that's because he works the same days that I do. However, when I was at the Lizard Lounge, which no longer exists, he was my bouncer on Friday nights. He was, he was not comfortable with me being there till 3 a.m. by myself. Anyone that has been there knows there's no lights in the parking lot. It is in the outskirts of town. Late at night, we all know that the clientele gets a little shadier by the night. And so he would stay, and that worked out, but it was because I worked in a bar where I was a local. We knew everyone there. I could kick a guy out that night. I would stick someone behind the bar for the 5 minutes it took after I kicked him out to drive him home. So like it's our hometown bar. I don't think it would work if I was working at a different place. He doesn't know everyone. People don't know him, and he's just sitting there. And so I don't think now my answer would be yes, but at that time it was beneficial to me to have him there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I want to circle back to the parking lots and safely leaving. I remember pre-COVID. I don't know if you guys remember this. Pre-COVID, the hours, or at least for guys like us, the performers, would be different. We'd start at like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So we'd play like 9 to 12, 10 to 1.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. Then there was nothing for a while. And then when everything kind of came back, all of a sudden we were starting at 6. Starting at 7.
Yeah,
Am I right?
hours
Am I
have
right about that?
definitely changed.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was no longer closing with the establishment. But I do remember on several occasions I would say to the bartender, "Hey, are you okay?" Like before I would leave, I'd be like, "Are you good? Do you have someone walking out with you or something like that?" Because I remember, between pretty girl, who it's a misunderstood thing all the time, also the cash. You know what I mean? There's a million reasons why it can go bad for someone walking out of a bar. So I haven't had to ask that for about 4 or 5 years now. Hey, are you okay to stay here and leave by yourself now?
Well, and I work a day shift now, so it's no longer. It's a different type of clientele in the morning and on a Sunday.
And I'm glad about that because I'm old, as I mentioned. So I don't do any gig that ends past like 10 o'clock. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. So I like the dinner hour stuff. I'm the dinner hour guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm not like, I don't know, like the stuff you play. Like you play a Beyonce song and like,
Not in the first set.
Not in the first set.
We're opening at Mars with Beyonce.
Yeah. But you have some like, weird 70s punk bands that I've probably never heard of that you have some stuff, whatever, and that's just not my thing, which is fine.
Yeah.
But when someone like the other night at Mars, they requested Sweet Caroline, and I'm like, it's a little early. It's like 7 o'clock.
The sun is still shining.
Yeah, I'm like, so you got that.
Yeah, I put in my time. I've done the 3 a.m., the 4 a.m. bars. Not into it anymore. Done by 11:30, midnight.
Yeah.
Is like a late
My body
night.
doesn't want to do it. On a normal day, I'm like, hey, it's 9:30. It's time for bed. And then I'm like, what? I'm one night a week. I'm be like, I'm going to stay up till 3 a.m. and not even be drunk. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I could say that.
Well, no. I mean, I may be drunk. I just don't want to be working. Like, I'm not doing that. But yeah, that's different vibes.
Well, no one's mentioned yet that my full-time job is I'm a church musician. So Sunday mornings come very early. So.
Right.
Yeah, for me.
So while you're, leading the congregation, I'm shaking up Bloody Marys, and in comes Miss Kelly with her Bears attire on, head to toe, orange and white. Or orange and white, orange and blue. Jeez Louise. Yeah. We're quite the polar opposite on this side of the table here.
No, it's a bit. But we just found out you used to go to the church that I work at.
Yes,
which
this is true.
See, we just met.
And my day job is I'm a special ed teacher for a middle school. So, yeah, so I do
my wife is a special ed teacher.
How did we not get into this upstairs?
Wow.
Yeah, I do behavioral.
She's not right now, but
And
she
John
did
is
get her
special
degree.
ed.
Yes.
John is special
And I always say that I practice.
I got mailed. Yay!
I always say I practice at the bar for what I do, and Monday through Friday. Yeah. But I can say the things I want to say out loud.
And I could say, like, this is the first time that I've ever had just one bartending gig. Mm-hmm. I actually found a place where I like the people like me, I like the coworkers, I like management. I'm making some decent rock and roll money. Yeah,
it's funny because when I talk about you, about how I got my job, and if you come up often, obviously, and I always refer to you as a professional bartender. John had asked, like, I'm not sure how to say this, and I'm like, I refer to her as a professional bartender. She's someone that really does her job well. She's known for it. You have a personality, and that is why people want you to stick around, because you're good at what you do.
and before Lake Cuomo, you had like 2, maybe 3 gigs a week.
Yeah.
And that was kind of typical for a bartender. I would see, like, okay, my best Monday through Thursday buck is here. And
right.
here's
absolutely.
my Friday place, and here's my Saturday, Sunday place.
Well, and it kind of brings it to the point where recently, or like a couple days ago, someone had posted on the Industry Grinder, I want a full-time job as a bartender at one place. And Kelly piped in, that's not really a thing. You can't do that, because if a bar depends on one person solely for every position, and then they leave, what they've left them,
somebody gets sick,
their ass out.
Some family incident.
Yeah, you can't do that. And so to come in and think that you're going to do a full-time job that, you might get a lot of hours, but you're never going to be the Monday through Friday guy, because a job or a place of business can't do that to
I
themselves.
bet every time they've ever agreed to something like that, they've always regretted it.
Well, yeah,
When
because
something
then you get a
happens.
person that not eventually doing their job because they get comfortable, and then what do? You're stuck with them.
Right.
Until you find someone else, and that's 5 shifts you now have to fill.
Yeah.
And then ever since COVID, like trying to fill those shifts have been
Or getting people to be
nightmare.
dependable to show up.
Right.
To
So
said shifts.
you think the industry's still reeling from COVID?
I think
I think we're-
expectations changed.
Yes, I think we're getting a little bit back on track and things like that. But there was a mindset and a decision. You know, you didn't really want to work as many hours as you were working before.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, I got comfortable, like hanging out with my dog. You know,
Cleaning my backyard. Never looked so good, let me tell you.
and I was getting paid for it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but obviously, those things have changed. But
I think we've definitely settled into a new normal. Like I think now things have kind of regulated. I think the last like 2 or 3 years have really kind of stabilized the industry. Things are really predictable. The hours are predictable. The amount of clientele are predictable.
Yeah.
Even when a new place opens, it's hot, flash in the pan, then everything kind of evens out.
Well, it's like McHenry County Food Critic. When a new place shows up, inundated with their ads about their food for about 2 months, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And people get annoyed, and you're like, oh, just wait, it'll be fine.
I got criticized for that one place that changes hands like every 8 months. What was that?
margaritas,
Bugsies?
Bugsby's.
Yeah.
Margaritaville,
Yeah.
Bugsby's. It really hasn't been
Sports
anything
page.
since what was
Firewood?
it? Firewood.
Yeah.
Firewood was like, it was its heyday, and then ever since then, nothing has lasted.
But I feel like the people online like jinx that place. Like me being new to the area, like we've lived here like 5 years, and they were like, "Oh, Bugsy's is opening," and people are like, "Well, that's not gonna last." The
No.
last 3 places
Right.
have
That building
closed
is
down. And I was like,
cursed.
"You're just jinxing
Well,
them, like right from the beginning." You know,
It's like
so negative.
it's like the
Yeah.
lot that Jexel's is on. Jexel's has made themselves a staple. They're
Oh,
staying.
yes.
But previous to Jexel's building that building was cursed since the fire in the Chinese building or whatever it was.
I
That's
believe
right.
it burned
And-
down like 3
Oh
times.
my God!
Really?
Yeah,
I
there
played
were
a
fire
benefit
after
for
fire.
that, but there's a family above.
Nothing lasted.
That's right. There's
And
a
then
family
they
above that
rebuilt,
fire.
and Jexel's is doing great. So
Yeah.
good for them. Way to go, Jexel's.
we just had their pizza. Their pizza's actually.
Oh
really
yeah,
good.
the Detroit or their pan pizza.
I have no idea.
Brings me back to
Yeah,
my-
Detroit is like a pan.
It brings me back to my Pizza Hut days where you read 100 books and you get a pizza.
Yeah, book it.
Finally found it. Yes. My sister sent me a meme the other day about like I can tell by looking at you, you didn't have to read 100 books to earn pizza.
John and I eat pizza a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the rider.
As
know?
you can tell. Yeah.
It's part of the. I just learned out today what a rider was. I was like, is this a list of your demands or weird asks?
Yeah.
And the only reason I knew that term was from the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel because she asks for teddy bears, yellow ones.
Yeah.
She needs 100 yellow teddy bears.
We were talking about Van Halen, how they had in their rider before you came green M&Ms in the green room. So if they walked in and it wasn't anything about the green M&Ms, you just knew if they were green M&Ms, they read the rider,
Right.
like all the instructions about everything they needed. And if there weren't green M&Ms, they were like, "Oh crap,
Yep, this is
we're in
not going to go
trouble."
well.
You know, everything's gonna be wrong.
And
or
it's a lot
whatever.
more complicated now because it's easy to criticize Van Halen, these prima donnas or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's a business. It's a huge business. You got 4, 5, 6, 7 guys on stage. You have 20, 30 supporting techs.
Yeah.
And it's not just going to be like condoms and beer on this rider. It's going to be like Metamucil and stool softener and ace bandages. You know, things,
Don't read them my rider.
right. And like I had a rider list when I played my Jim Blossom show. We went 5 whole minutes without talking about it. Shout out to the Genesee Theater. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you. But my rider list was 4 or 5 items long.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine your rider list is like 150 items long.
Yeah, probably.
So you take the green M&Ms and you bury it like line item 37 or 104, just to be sure that they're bad.
Yeah.
That's,
So one of the things that happened to me when I first moved here was like the outside shows. Can we talk about this for a minute? Because there's places that have outside shows, like, which is great. But then if it rains, which, you know, like in Arizona, it's like always sunny, so you never have to worry about that. So I just got here and like, oh yeah, like Illinois, like it could be like totally sunny, Wisconsin, whatever, and then all of a sudden it's raining.
And then 5 minutes later, it's snowing.
And then it's snowing or hailing. But like I played at this one place, which will remain nameless. But like the guy watched me set up, and I had a band when I first moved here. I got some guys that I know, and we put a band together. This guy watched me set up like the PA, like all the speakers, the PA speakers, the subwoofers, the keyboard. You know, we had like mics for the drums because it's outside and the whole thing. And he just sat there on his phone, like watching me. And I'm like, oh, I don't know what he's doing. He could be texting his girlfriend or whatever. And then literally, like, I got all done. I'm like sweating, like I'm soaked. And he goes, yeah, we're going to have to cancel you tonight because I've been sitting here watching the weather app and it looks like we're going to get a storm at like 10 o'clock. And then he questioned me and I go, dude, like I just set up all this stuff.
You just watched
you got to
me.
tell me that. And then he's like, well, why are you here so early? You don't start for another hour. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm a professional musician. I'm like, and this is what we do. Like most of the time that, if we're not like running from something else, we get there on time. We set stuff up. Something's not working. We fix it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
Who
also
wants
like
to
you
play a
show
show
up early
sweaty?
enough to where you don't rush to set up, and you also don't want to appear rushed.
Yeah.
Like because you have you don't have just a staff to worry about. Like never mind the staff. I'll push you out of the way. But the clientele.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want them to be totally relaxed. Like. If they're standing in your way, like totally rudely in your way, well, first of all, they're not being rude. They're supposed to be there.
Right.
So like you want enough time where you can slow down, let them realize they're, hey, excuse me.
And then this guy canceled me. And I'm like, dude, the band is almost here. And they were driving like a good 45 minutes to an hour because they live like in Palatine and stuff, Anyway, and then he didn't want to pay us. And I'm like, dude, and we didn't have a contract. But I was like, well, what do you want to I said, well, you got to pay us at least half. I'm like, I got to pay these guys.
Yeah.
Like, I got to pay these
They
guys.
showed
I'm
up.
the leader of the band. And he like refused to pay us. So I paid the guys out of my own pocket. The good moral of the story is the guy met his now girlfriend and they've been together for like 2 years that night. They went to dinner, so that was a good thing that came out of it. But I'm like, I'm never gonna play like at that place again. But like some of the places will cancel you, and then they have it inside, which is cool. But like, I'm almost to the point where I don't want to book outside stuff because if they just cancel you and they don't give you anything,
Well, and a lot of places will now book outside and inside, so then you can't move them, and they will. They'll just cancel.
That's
Right.
true too.
Yeah,
It's gotta be in your rider.
I just roll the dice,
riders.
take the chance. Pay attention to the weather. I become the weather expert.
Yeah.
We had a big band at the place that I'm working now, and we knew the night before, but they planned for that day, and it's a big day, and whatever. Well, it rained, and we canceled, and there was no contract, and they refused to play with us anymore. Yep, they're done.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them at all. No, I really don't blame them at all.
Yeah.
And so private parties, like I get a deposit.
Yeah. I do
For a private party.
I do too.
Oh, you played a private party where it poured rain, didn't you? The show must go on.
Yeah. But if weather happens or whatever, like I'm keeping the deposit. If you have a garage or something for me to move into, a basement, a living room, I'm even willing to forego equipment and I'll just sing and play loud. I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. And actually kind of made it a little more fun because it's like here everyone's saying, oh, the party's ruined and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, let me just get my equipment out of the monsoon and I'll be right with you. So, I'm like, oh, man, my equipment's probably trashed, but I go inside with the guitar. These people paid. And so I just sit there on the guy's couch and everyone's
Personal
around the
and
dip.
intimate.
And I just,
An hour with John.
Exactly.
Hire John Polit.
It wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't what they wanted, but it ended up being something nice. Ended up being fun.
That's cool, man. You're a good guy.
Aw, you're making me blush under this light.
Ego stroking it again.
All right, and then I have one last note that I wanted to mention. I saw the Gin Blossoms play in McHenry.
With
Back
John.
in 2009, maybe? I don't even know. But yeah, they came to Illinois. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's where I'm sure I caught COVID that day when I played with the Gin Blossoms. I was so sick. Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
Well,
And then
we're in
that's
Illinois, so I can say I had a marijuana cookie, half of a marijuana cookie. And I had half a beer, and I was violently sick. I was throwing up into my sweater on the way home. And sore throat that was unmatched by any pain I've had in my life. I'm sure it was COVID. It had to have been. But that was December of 2019, and COVID was just getting on the radar. And makes sense because you know, they're from Arizona. There's guys flying from all over the place. You shake hands, and
There it is.
And that's why you weren't invited to the Illinois show.
I remember, while we're talking about the Jim Blossoms, going to see the Jim Blossoms with our previous guitar player. And we would stand outside because we were too young to go in. We were like 19, 20, and it was a 21, bar. And the old guitar player, was so pissed off about something that he took his Les Paul.
The short guy was really nice.
The short guy, the guy that died. He died.
Oh, no.
So, but he took his Les Paul and he literally shoved it through the ceiling tiles in the middle of the gig while it was on. And it just went, bang, 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 and he just shoved it in there and he just sat down. Like, he probably had some of your cookies. But anyway, it was like, and my friends and I were standing out there and like, what the heck just happened? And the band was kind of looking, and the other guy just kind of took over, and they just kind of went, so there's my Jim Blossom story.
I don't have a Jim Blossom story. I just got excommunicated from the group. I'm sorry. I know who they are.
The challenge is, can Jonathan go 5 minutes without mentioning that he opened for the Jim Blossoms?
Now I gotta go find me a Jim Blossom show.
Ending or do we?
I still can't believe I got you guys to go along with my bullshit.
It's like, is it okay?
I know.
Is it okay
I can't believe that we all just like
No, that's great.
decided, yes, we're doing it today.
Yeah.
Like, it fucking happened.
I felt
And
so
everybody made
bad.
it.
John was like so upset.
Oh, he was so
I'm missing
mad.
faith.
I know.
And then
Go cry.
John deleted a
John
message.
deleted a message. Yeah, I was like,
I was like, oh, shit.
whoa.
Yeah, I was like, well, John's crying right now.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, Johnny's crying. There's your Van Halen reference.
No.
And like I said, menu instead of venue. Like, damn it.
Well, and I'm like, I want to do it for a lot longer. Like, what did I just fucking say?
I just blacked out.